Hey there, viewers, and welcome back to the Self-Made Auto Channel. So we've got a Dodge Grand Caravan up on the lift. I don't know what year it is, 8, 9, 10, somewhere's around there. It came in with a complaint of no AC. The customer kind of already knows what's going on. Evidently this was checked out by another shop, last year or something like that, and he, decided not to follow through with it or get it repaired. But summertime's coming. He wants AC this year. He was told that the rear evaporator is leaking, which it is. We've done a few videos on these. They usually only last about 3 years. Right behind that rear wheel, they just get blasted with all the dirt and junk, and they have a tendency to leak. He also had a concern about the AC compressor not functioning as it should. Evidently the other shop told him that it was lacking power or something like that. He really didn't know. So what I did, I brought it in. Of course, system's completely empty. I threw a charge on it just to see what was wrong with the AC compressor, but honestly it worked fine. I turned it on and off several times, let it run, get cold. It was blowing 32 degrees out of the vents. Let the high pressure build up until the cooling fan kicked on. The cooling fan kicked on, everything seemed good there. Shut it off, let it sit, tried it again. And it appears that the compressor works. So in this case, being that this is his work van, I guess, or their second van, they really don't want to put the money into the rear evaporator. They're rather expensive to buy. You got to get them right from Chrysler. The aftermarket ones do not fit. There's a couple lines that come off them. You can never get this stuff unhooked. So, or at least here, everything's all corroded together. So you get the evaporator, you get the H block, you get the 2 lines. You got several $100s wrapped up into that. Plus the labor to pull the quarter trim off, replace it, all that. I think it comes up to about like a $600 bill, somewhere's in there. The alternative is to block off the rear AC, which is what this guy wants to do. So we're going to do that. We're going to bring you along. We're going to set it back down. We're going to evacuate the refrigerant we put in there. First, I guess I can show you real quick where the leak is. I'll put a link to a couple of the other videos we've done. I think we've done the 2 different body styles, I think, on these, if I remember right, or we've done at least one of them. I've done so many of these I can't keep track, but I do know that we have at least one video doing the rear evaporators on these, in case you guys are interested in seeing that. So let's get started. I'll come right up here in front of the rear wheel, and you can see that is the expansion valve. And the 2 lines going into it. So you got your high pressure line, your low pressure line there. I can't really get you a great shot on that, but you can see being, right here behind this rear wheel, it is obviously a huge engineering flaw. And oddly enough, they don't corrode, right out here, where you can see them. That's actually usually right up inside the box. All the junk gets up in there. There's no gasket material. It just all goes up inside the van, and well, the rest is history. So we will use our brand new TIF ZX refrigerant leak detector. This is a heated probe style put out by Robinair. It's got to go through a little self-calibration right now. This thing works fantastic. I've got an older one. We've upgraded to this newer one, and I'll tell you what, you'll see, we don't even have to, we don't have to blow the salt and dirt and junk off that. We'll be able to get right near it, and this thing goes bananas. Even get it in this vicinity. I mean, we're what, 8-10 inches away from that thing, and this thing goes nuts. I mean, and honestly, I can't even smell it. Typically, my old detector. Here, we can put this in a reduced power mode. See if it catches it. So this is in the low sensitivity mode. There it goes. You got to get a little closer to it, but you can get it. Now my older Mac one I had, I'm not sure who makes that. I don't know if that was a Robinair one or not. It wasn't near as sensitive, and typically I could smell them almost before I could find them, but this thing is pretty wild. It works pretty good. So that's where the leak is, and like I say, we're going to do a block off on this one as opposed to fixing this. So we're all hooked up. The low side lives way up under the cowl there. The high side lives underneath the air box. We've got it set in recovery mode, so we'll get all the refrigerant out. We'll drain the oil out of it, or what little bit of oil we suck up with the refrigerant, and then we'll proceed with the block off. Put this back. I'll throw a link in the description. I think they have these on Amazon. I'll double check. And in case you guys are interested in one of those, if you do AC work, it does work really well. I've used it. I bought it last year towards the end of the season, and I've used it a bit. Of course, we're going to be coming into AC season now, so we'll be using a lot more. As far as my block-offs, this is what I use. It's a product by SUR&R. The part number on this kit is an AC80. These are fantastic block-offs. They're all aluminum. That's what they look like. So essentially they're compression fitting. They come in, 3/8, ½ inch, 5/8, and 3/4. I think you only get one each of these kits, but I tend to keep it replenished because this is a common request in our area. They're very well made, I'll tell you that. One neat feature that separates them from a regular compression fitting is that they add a O-ring in there, you know, to kind of add some extra sealing. It does have a standard brass ferrule that goes inside it to crimp it to the line, and then of course both your outside pieces are aluminum. I found that when I put these on that you don't really have to just, you know, crush them right down. Essentially, you know, you snug them up till they're snug, and they work. Had real good success. I have seen other repairs come in where they've used, you know, all brass compression fittings, and they corrode right off. I don't know if you get some galvanic corrosion. I don't know why these don't corrode with the brass ferrule on the inside. You know, perhaps it's the lack of oxygen. I'm not sure, but I've used these for several years now. I've never seen one fail, and I guess I'll continue to use them until then. There's different kinds of block-offs that you can get and use. This is what I've always used, and you know, I guess I just kind of stick with what works. Downside is they are a little spendy for what they are. I want to say we paid like mid-20s, maybe almost 30 bucks a piece for the bigger ones, but they work great. So while we're waiting for that, I guess one thing I'll mention, when we go underneath the van to cut the lines, it's always been my habit, we'll cut the lines on the rear line section. So there's going to be a couple junctions where the front lines come down, you know, they bolt together to the rear lines. Usually what I do is I'll find a spot in the rear lines that's straight. We'll try to cut in the middle of it. We'll add our block-offs to that location. And the only reason I do that is because, you know, in the event, you know, they change their mind, they want to fix it. This company also makes compression fittings where you can, you know, cut a bad section of line, put it together, and bolt it up. So what I do is I cut it in a section where it's actually repairable in the future. You know, say somebody wanted to fix it. I've never been in that situation, but you never know. They, you know, something happens. They say, oh, you know, I want to fix it. Well, now, you know, 1-2 barbecue, baby. We put a compression on it, fix the rear evaporator, and ship it. 2 pounds, 5 ounces. So I put in 41 ounces when we started to check this out, and what's that? That's 37 ounces we got out. So it does have a pretty good leak because it's only been, I don't know, an hour or so. And it looks like we took out just about a ½ ounce of oil, so no big deal. I'm gonna get our hoses unhooked, we'll get her up in the air, get this job done. All right, so I think this is as good a spot as any, a little straight section here. Of course, these are your coolant lines for the rear heaters, so make sure you identify the right lines. We've got our 2 AC lines here. I think what I'm gonna do, because I don't want to tear apart all this bracket and stuff, we can see you got one factory junction here. The high side one is just up ahead of that a little bit. You know, and it's totally up to you, you know, where you cut these. You know, it's probably the shorter you can make them, the better. But like I say, I just always try to do it so I can fix it if we have to. So I think I'm just going to take our little air saw. We're going to blast right through them. Of course, it's going to leave kind of a jagged edge. We'll clean that up with a cutoff wheel, but this will allow us to, cutoff wheel, you know, tubing cutter. But this will allow us to kind of bend our lines out of the way. The other side, we'll just, you know, we'll cap them off the best we can and leave them, and that'll be good. But that's the plan, baby. Safety. You don't want to get a AC facial, let me tell you. There we go. No going back now, right? So we'll take this one, we'll bend her out of our way. I thought it was going to leave a little crappier edge on it than it did, but that actually looks pretty good. I'm probably just going to touch this off with some sandpaper. We'll take, let's see, probably easier to bend this one up out of our way a little bit. The lines that we're going to leave, let's see if we can find some plastic caps to stick over those. We'll bend it down just a little bit. That way we can get our parts and pieces on there. Our bit of kit, as they like to call it. And I'm going to get a little emery cloth. Get those little burrs out there. Feels good, baby. Some people may ask why I'm not going to hose them off of brake clean, and that is because the brake clean tricks our refrigerant leak detector, and we want to be able to double check our work when we're done, make sure we don't have any refrigerant leaks. I'm just going in there with a Q-tip to make sure we get all the shrapnel out, little bits of aluminum. We'll be good to go. Alright, and beautiful. So we are going to be using the 5/8 block off here. We got to make sure we get it up over that O-ring. I guess we can undo this and have a look at the little spiel here. So we got our ferrule on there. We want to just make sure our O-ring slips up on there nicely, if we can. Perhaps we'll slip it on first so we don't take a chance of tearing it. Come on, get out of there. Make sure the O-ring sits down in a groove inside the fitting, so we'll make sure it pops in, which it just did. So you got to kind of be mindful of that. And we'll stick that one on there. I'll get you guys a little closer up on that 3/8 one. So we'll just make sure it's pushed up in all the way. There. And now we have to bust out the old tools, Americana. Do not use these very often, let me tell you. Always got to blow the dust off them. Take and snug those up until it's, firmly attached to the line. You can't spin your outer one here, so that's got to go just a little bit tighter. Let's see here. Now they are just aluminum, so. That should be good on that one. We'll do our 3/8 one here. We'll do this right in the same fashion. We'll just build it right up on the line. So we'll stick our nut on there. We'll stick our ferrule up in there. And then the O-ring inside the fitting. See if it'll slip on. No, I don't want to take the chance of damaging it, so we'll just slip it up on first. So we can get to our ferrule. We'll just make sure that O-ring presses all the way down inside that fitting. So it sticks inside of its little groove. Make sure the fitting's on all the way. And that's that, folks. Grab our 5/8 and 3/4. Let's snug it till the ferrule squishes down, grabs the line good, and then we'll be golden. There we go. So what we'll do is we'll just bend that straight just a little bit. I think we're just gonna leave them right where they are. They shouldn't cause any problems there. I'm gonna see if I got a couple caps we can slam over these lines that will fit nice and snug. That one there fits pretty snug. Now this guy did tell me that he has no anticipation of ever fixing this, but you never know. Oh, that one's way too small there, fella. Well, this one. I like to find something that will go on with a little bit of resistance so I know it'll stay on. Oh no, that one. Let's see if I can find one a little better fitting. So I'll get these figured out, get them capped off. That'd be a good internal cap. No, I'll go through my bucket of a million different things here. So you can see that's pretty easy. Those compression fittings work really well. I got both those lines capped off under there, like I said, just in case. Also too, it's gonna, hopefully we'll be able to tell if they're leaking or not. That refrigerant detector is extremely sensitive, so the little caps we pushed on there may not be good enough, you know, to get past that, or we'll put it in a lower sensitivity mode and, you know, sniff around those fittings. I haven't had any leak yet. So we're gonna take it, throw it under a vacuum. We'll put, you know, in my experience, we end up putting about 30 to 32 ounces or so back in these systems to get them working good with just the front AC. Total capacity on these is about 41 ounces. So we'll do that. We'll see how it works. Make sure it blows cold. Everything should be good. Now, some people may ask, you know, how does this apply to a, you know, a DIYer? Well, it can still be done. You know, you can still buy the fittings. You know, my suggestion would be, you know, you have to know it's leaking back there first. So how you know, determine that? You've got to know it's leaking. Perhaps you can go to a repair shop or, you know, an AC shop in your area. If you want to do the, you know, the installation yourself, you can, you know, have them, you know, give you a quote on recovering the refrigerant if anything's left in it, or recharging your system after it's done if you know it's dead empty. You know, definitely do not cut those lines if there's pressure in there, because you're gonna get covered. It's gonna be a huge mess, it'd be a big mistake. So do not cut your lines unless you know the refrigerant is all the way removed from the system, there's no pressure on it. And well, that's what I would do. I'd encourage you to check with a, you know, an independent repair shop around your place, see what they charge, pull the system under vacuum, you know, perhaps identify the leak for you. And who knows, I mean, this repair is pretty inexpensive labor-wise. You can see how easy it is to do. So, you know, maybe just check with them and suggest that they use those block offs, as I've had really good experience with them. The other thing is too, if you guys know a good AC block off, put it in the links below. I'm always open to looking at new things, trying new things, and I just be kind of curious your thoughts, your procedures, how you do them, whether it's in a shop or DIY. Just let me know. Put in about an ounce of oil here. There we go. We'll get it charged up. So we're going to charge it. We're going to put in 32 ounces. Charge it on the low side. Here we go. Just about done putting in the last 1 ounce, which sometimes takes a little bit. We're going to start it up. We'll throw our temperature gauge in the vent. Make sure it blows cold. It was blowing well this morning when I first checked it out, about 32 degrees, so it's coming out pretty chilly. And we'll just double check, make sure that this compressor works as it should. Our compressor's cycling. I'm running here just for a little bit. Telling you how warm it is in here today. Oh yeah, about 61 on the inside. It's a little chilly right now. Low side pressure looks good. Our high side's starting to creep up. I haven't heard the fan kick on yet. Should be kicking on relatively soon. There she goes. And that should make our high side pressure drop like a rock. There she goes. Beautiful. fan's gonna run continuous now. Had to let her warm up a bit. Let that compressor kick back on, there we go. Lovely. Oh, can we get past it? I got all the windows up right now. What are we at on the inside? Just above the icicle mark. So she is blowing cold right now. Just a little above, about 32 degrees, so just above freezing. Can't complain about that. Brr. It's awful chilly in there. Our hose is equalized here. We'll go back underneath it, make sure we have no leak. Check around our caps up here. Prior to doing this, I did go around all the fittings and everything up top, so I know there was no leaks. We'll just double check and move on. Alright. I'm going to put our refrigerant detector in a lower sensitivity mode. See if we can verify that we've got no leaks around, at least around our fittings. I suspect the plastic caps we put on there may leak or still have some residual 134A in the lines. Yeah, so we can hear it kind of going off on that one, which I'm not too worried about. Mostly just worried about these ones, which, like I said, I've never had these leak. We put it in high sensitivity mode. Yeah, so it's not going to like that one bit. Let's see. I'm sure we even get near that top one. It's going to go bananas. Yeah, you see the difference there. So nothing around our fittings, which is all we were concerned about. Obviously, these are going to be screwing up our readings. You even get near that top one. I tell you, this TIF ZX, man, this thing is ultra sensitive. That's it, folks. That's how I block off rear ACs here at the shop. Like I say, SUR&R kit. I did take a peek on Amazon. They're actually available on there, and I don't ever remember them being available on there. So perhaps that changes the price. I used to get them like through Advance and Napa. What always sucked is you'd call the company and they would never sell to you directly. So I had to, always put in my order with Napa. They'd have to call even though they didn't sell them. They'd get them for me. It's always kind of a pain in the neck, but perhaps that's changed since I've bought them last. And then, of course, we got to play with this little guy. And one feature I didn't show, which is kind of neat on this, which is pretty similar on other refrigerant detectors I've used, when we put it in high sensitivity mode and you start getting in the area of a leak and you want to isolate it right down to what little point, like we did on, underneath there, we could tell, yeah, it's coming from the upper line, not lower line, obviously the ones we cut, is once you get near it, the alarm starts going bananas, you hit the reset button or the refresh button, whatever you want to call it, and it will recalibrate the probe for that error, for that concentration of refrigerant that it's taken in at the tip. And then as you move to a higher concentrated area, the alarm will start going off again, and you just keep hitting the reset button until you get, right to that pinpoint, which is a pretty slick feature. My other tool had that, wasn't near as sensitive as this one, but so far so good. This has been working great. So like I said, I will put a link to that if anybody is interested in that. Guys in the shop, obviously, DIYers probably not going to buy that tool. I think they're probably $700 for, just checking it one time. Use. But that's it. Be sure to check us out, Google Plus and Facebook, and also on Patreon. If you want to support the SMA channel and what we do, we appreciate that. We appreciate you guys watching and clicking the subscribe button and notification bell so you know when we roll out videos each and every week. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.